This week I learned many of you do indeed feel like we do. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update as March is quickly approaching an end here. The first quarter of the new year already just zipped right by. It's been wild, hasn't it? Well, guys, it's been a very, very fun week, and we're going to talk about all the reasons why. You're going to begin, like usual, talking about what am I reading. I finished The Relic of the Gods, and with it the Relic trilogy of the Echo saga. And with this one, it's kind of a bit of a mixed deposit for me. And I'm going to talk about it in a way that here's the thing, is guys, elephant in the room. Many people know I did a video this week talking about how modern fantasy isn't cutting it for me. And I had a lot of people message me immediately, knowing that I just finished reading this and being like, oh my God, was Philip Quantrell's series the one that really pushed you over the edge? No, if you listen in that video, I do say that the remedy to these things I'm feeling is go and find some self-published fantasy. This doesn't have any of the problems that I was explaining in that video. So with this, I think, with me, I really like that first book a lot. And I have tended to kind of lean towards the first books in the series. I love book ones. I love a good introduction. It's when you get to know everyone the best and things like that. Some of my struggles with this is where in most cases, again, like in that video where I said, let's normalize the trilogy again, this felt like he wanted to do too much for it to be a trilogy. He introduced so many characters in book two, and I think it was kind of a detriment when you were wanting this to be a trilogy, in that several of those secondary characters really didn't get a ton of development time. So I didn't really know if I should care about them one way or the other. Now look, some of them are races that are not human, and I know with this series, it does all take place in the same universe, and some of them can still be around, and however many years go by in this series here, you know, you might see some of them again. You might get some of those developments much later. With this, I feel like kind of almost felt like it was just going from battle to battle, which is cool. I like action and stuff like that. And he writes action really, really good. Just wish we'd spent just a touch more time on characters. And I'll be honest, I might have made the mistake of thinking that this was a story about Asher when I first started it, because I loved the way they set up everything with Asher in book one. I felt like he kind of almost got second or third billing in this book. You know, it really started to lean more on Gideon and Galanor and things like that. And I'm cool with that. I like those characters. I do feel like Asher kind of started to take a back seat after a while, and that kind of bummed me out a little bit. But again, I think it's a really, really good series. I will continue with the Echo saga. We're going to be taking a break for right now, and I want to thank everyone who participated in the read-along with me on this. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me on that. And again, thank you to Philip for sending me those books. I did enjoy it, and I will be picking up more. Now, I don't want to talk about this because I know there's a lot of Stephen Graham Jones fans on the channel. I'm about 30-ish something percent into this book here. About 150 pages. The longest time I've been hearing, Stephen Graham Jones isn't for everybody because he has a unique writing style. And I was always like, well, is his writing style like, what is it, like Cormac McCarthy or something? What is it? What's so weird about it? What's so unique about it? Was that just another way of saying, yes, his writing is kind of boring? I don't like to say that. The way that it is just he has such a literary style that it's hard for me really to get engaged in this. It is dreadfully slow, and it is plotting. And I'm fine with that at the beginning of a semi-horror, historical horror. I think I'd call this a historical horror at this point. It's got this problem where it has someone that's reading a story of someone that's telling a story of something that happened from another person's point of view. So already you're like Inception here. You're like 3 layers deep trying to figure out, okay, what's actually happening here? But that isn't really my problem with him. My problem is just I just can't really get invested because the way that he writes, it's almost like a cure for insomnia for me. It's just not grabbing me at all. And the thing is like so many people that love this book are telling me, well, starts really good, the middle's a little slow, and then it ends really well. I'm sorry, so you're telling me I just read the part that you thought was really good, and it was really slow for me? I don't know. So really, I'll be honest right now in that I'm still deciding if I'm going to DNF this or not, because right now it's just not moving the needle for me like whatsoever, and I'm trying to give it a chance because I know so many people love this author, and they really want me to get into him, and I would like to. I want more horror authors and stuff, but if this is his writing style, I think I get it now. I get what people are saying, that his writing style is not going to be for everybody. And it's not like he's writing some kind of weird format or something. It's not in a way that's really grabbing me. And maybe, look, I'll be straight. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand his writing style. I don't know. Every page is kind of almost starting to feel like a chore. And when that happens, I'm like, look, I got way too many good things I want to read. but I don't want to feel like I'm tapping out on an author too quick. Like I said, I'm still going to read I Was a Teenage Slasher regardless of how I felt about this, and I will stand by that. I will do that. I don't think I'd be one and done with any author, really. I think that I will give anybody more than one chance. But with this, I don't feel like there's any real investment for me to go on. I went and watched Brian's review, Brian Lee Durfee, because he liked it a lot. So it's like one of the best horror books he's ever read. And I was listening to kind of what he's saying. He's making comparisons to Blood Meridian, which is one of my most unpopular opinions of a book I didn't really care for. And I was like, okay, maybe I can see that, because this is not the kind of story that I'm interested in so far. And it's just one that I think like I've gotten far enough now to say it's probably not going to change. We're not into it right now. I don't think that there's just going to be some event that happens that will make you want to give it more of a go. But like I said, I'm still deciding on that, so I'm not making any declarations here, but it's not looking good. It's not looking very good. Like I will be continuing, guys. So when I talk about what am I going to read, well, I did start Dead Man's Walk by Larry McMurtry. Got part 1 in here, say page 87. It's not that far into it. This is a little bit more than I want with my Westerns. Now, obviously, with Larry, I've talked about maybe the greatest character writer of all time. And when it comes to Dead Man's Walk, let me just kind of set the stage. And I don't feel like this is too much of a spoiler for you. Is the first, 50 pages, you have whoring, drinking, shitting in the woods, someone getting scalped and living through it. And it's like, wow, Larry, you really know how to get things back in the mood for a Lonesome Dove sequel, prequel, actually. But within that world of Lonesome Dove, good old westward expansion, where the toughest thing to do was to stay alive past the age of 25. This right away is gotten into, and you're seeing young Gus and Call, and seeing how at first they're really like these real idealized and just jaded. They just love this world. They're not as jaded as they were in Lonesome Dove. They're very much bright-eyed optimists, and they're really there for the adventure. They think being the Texas Rangers stuff is just going to be adventure. And they get there, and they have this Indian attack, and they have no idea how to process this. And you're seeing, immediately, this isn't what we signed up for. Very much made me think of, the kids who signed up for Vietnam because, they were raised by the greatest generation who said serving was the greatest thing they ever did in their life. And then when they got to Vietnam, they were like, oh, no, this isn't what I heard at all. So I feel like that's kind of how Gus and Call feel early in this. And, this isn't what I thought it was going to be like. And they have a real big culture shock, right away. And that's what I love about Larry, that in 70-something pages, he's already got that message across to me, that these two characters I already know that I love, and later in their life, seeing them as, very, very young men who haven't experienced anything yet, just kind of have that illusion for them just destroyed in a matter of moments is just like, wow. Larry's really, really good at this, so I'll definitely be carrying on with this week. I don't imagine it will take me long. No Larry McMurtry book, even Lonesome Dove, the chonker that it is, didn't take me a week to read because he just writes in a style that's just so bingeable. And I love the way that he writes characters. And I love just spending time with them. The first 30 pages is really them around a campfire bullshitting. And I'm all in on it. Because only Larry can do that. He's really just that gifted. And I'm expecting to like this quite a bit, as I did enjoy both Lonesome Dove and Streets of Laredo, S-tier books. This, it's the expectations are so high, I don't see how he could possibly meet those. But I'm expecting to like this quite a bit, and getting to see some of those characters again. And the much younger age, full of piss and vinegar, I'm excited to see what he does there. And then I got to just make a decision, will I go back and finish Buffalo Hunter x Hunter, or will I go ahead and start Senseless? This is one of my April reads, Ronald Malfi's new book that comes out here in the middle of April. And, I'm really into Ronald Malfi right now. I'm really excited to read more of his books. I've bought several over the last month, which we'll talk about when I do my book haul, but I'm very excited to get into his new book here. It sounds like it is very much a supernatural kind of crime novel. So with me, it's so it might be those things that I liked with Come With Me, but he's going to lean a little bit more into the supernatural, which is what I wanted Come With Me to do. So this sounds like this might be the book that I wanted Come With Me to be. At least that's just going off of the blurb. It sounds very exciting. So one of those things will be happening. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'll fly through Dead Man's Walk, just because I always fly through Larry's books. And then I'll have to make that decision. Do I continue to try to give Buffalo Hunter x Hunter another chance, or do I just go ahead and cut my losses and move on? You guys let me know what you think I should do there. How about this week on the channel? It was quite eventful. Had a couple of videos that were very well received by people. I was actually rather surprised by both of them. And I think it's because I've done similar videos in the past, and they don't really move the needle a ton. And it's just talking about my most recommended book series and authors, but by viewers. These are things that I hear constantly. Now, I want to kind of focus on some authors from some series and books that I haven't actually started any on yet. That way I could say it was something that I wasn't really familiar with. And with this, the feedback's really good in that there's a lot of people saying, yeah, I know you like this, I know you like this. Not so sure about that. And again, that's what I want. I want you guys let me know what you think is going to work for me, what I don't. That kind of pushes me to decide one way or the other if I'm going to do some of these things, because you guys are constant watchers. I think you know my likes and dislikes, and if you've read these series, you can probably say, yeah, I think that's going to be a series for you, or maybe not so much. Like I've got lots of people that tell me that absolutely Dandelion Dynasty is not going to be for you, Mike. But then I've got other people who will tell me, oh, ℚ𝕤𝕤, that's going to be everything for you because of how much you like Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. So it's one of those where I love that feedback. I love some of that confirmation on things that I think I'm probably going to enjoy. And then I like the debates down below. Like, some people think I like ℚ𝕤𝕤𝕣𝕔, other people not so much, So these are fun conversations to have, and I want to make sure that you guys know that I listen to you. I listen to the comments. I might not be able to have a chance to respond to everything, but I am listening, and I listen to feedback. If that's something that you guys want me to talk about on the channel, I'll do it. And, I run the risk of maybe disappointing you if I don't like it, but that's, again, that's why we're here. It's the most objective thing in the world, maybe besides music, is reading. And there's several series there I'm very excited to give a try for the very first time. Then, guys, on Friday, I was just, in case you don't know, I had a procedure recently, and I've been on these meds after the surgery. They just make you feel terrible. Just absolutely nauseous, like at all times. Me, I would rather be in pain than be nauseous, really. It's just, I hate it, where you just feel like you just constantly feel like you got to go throw up. It's just the worst feeling in the world. And so naturally, that makes you feel a little grumpy, right? And I was sitting around, I was like, I still got to do this Kobo video. I don't feel like I've used the Kobo enough really to talk about it yet. So I was like, I need to come up with something. And I just made me like, what? I was grumpy. I wasn't feeling good. I've been a little disillusioned lately with some modern fantasy things. And he said, you know what? I'm just going to talk about it. I'm going to create a new segment on the channel called My Current Bookish Disillusionment. And I can also do one of my current bookish excitement or something. I don't know. I haven't thought about the other side of it. Now, I don't like to do negative videos, but I feel like there's things you can talk about, the things that you're disillusioned with, things you're dissatisfied with, things you might be a little disgruntled with. And I don't feel like, that's a bad thing to talk about what's not working for you. And what I was saying wasn't working for me is I feel like a lot of modern fantasy isn't cutting it. And I gave credit to one of my patrons, one of my moderators on my Discord, Brent, a longtime viewer of the channel, who said, I thought I was having fantasy burnout. And it turned out I was just reading a lot of mid-fantasy. And I was like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense. And when I say that, it does. I had a lot of people after that video that had messaged me, been like, so what series are these that you saying bad so I know to avoid them? That's not what I was saying in the video at all. I was saying that there are some series out there, I think they're good. They're just nothing that I remember a day after I finish it. And I want to have that feeling like when I read Lord of the Rings for the first time. Or I say Lord of the Rings, that's probably setting the bar a little high, but I brought up Wheel of Time, which I read 5 years ago, and I felt like it kind of changed my life in many ways. I want those series that are really going to make me feel something. And I'm thinking I need to start going back to more classic fantasy, because a lot of the modern fantasy stuff, it really feels formulaic. Like I said, it was almost like it's starting to be written by an AI. We're like, okay, here's what's going to happen in Act 1, here's in Act 2, and here's Act 3. We're going to follow this structure, and we're going to check off all these items that we are going to have in every single book nonstop. So it makes everything seem very formulaic, and it's just become entirely frustrating. And it was a video I didn't know if I was going to put out, because I do mention a couple of political buzzwords in there, but I just kind of had to bring up something that the social commentary, the allegory that drives me crazy with a lot of modern fantasy. Though I just want it to be escapism, like it always was when I was a kid. And I feel like we've kind of gotten away from that. And it wasn't just trying to be a video complaining about how fantasy isn't really catering to 40-something-year-old males anymore. That's not what I was trying to do. I was just saying why I felt like I need to pump the brakes a little bit on trying to force myself to read a lot of modern fantasy when there's so much classic stuff I still want to read. That seems like it's hitting a lot more for what I want. My likes and dislikes are really in the between modern fantasy and classic fantasy. It just seems to be, I have some hits every once in a while where I go back, like I'll go back and I'll read like ℓ or something. Like, this is amazing. It's just straightforward. It's no bullshit. It's no filler. It's no commentary. It's just awesome, fun fantasy. And it's like, I want that again. I think about series I've been putting off, like Feist and things like that. That I should just make it a point to do these. And that's why I said where I feel like I wanted to try to keep reading modern fantasy, in case new readers or younger readers want to find the channel. They have an outlet where I will be talking about these things. But I feel like I've got to start going back to, reading some classic fantasy, because I'm going to burn myself out on the genre if I just keep forcing myself to read things because, everybody else is. And it's sucky. It's sucky, but it feels a lot better than reading series and either being completely disappointed with them or just being like, the next day I'm not even thinking about it anymore. It's a shame. And I bring up in that a solution to that is, check out some self-published authors. There are a lot of independent authors who are still writing the kind of fantasy that I am looking for. And if you felt the way that I do, I encourage people to give a lot of self-published authors a try. Now, the funny thing about that is after that video, I think every self-published author I've never heard of has emailed me or messaged me asking if they can send me their book, and that's really awesome. I'm overwhelmed that you guys would consider me for something like that. Really, just want to kind of let people know that I start doing these things, and you're going to be like, you're reading another series from the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s. Are you going to read anything modern? I mean, yeah, there's lots of modern authors I still read. I love John Gwynne. I'm reading Ryan Cahill. Jay Kristoff and James Islington are still really working for me. So there's several authors, even major traditional published authors, are still doing very, very well for me, But there are some authors where it's just like, it's kind of like, whatever. I don't know that I'm going to keep doing that. But I think about things that I really want to read. Like, I've never given ℙ𝕦𝕣𝕟𝕤 a try. I have no reason for this outside of they got pushed down for newer things that just aren't clicking for me. So that's really what that video was. It's never meant to be if you like modern fantasy, you're a bad person. Or one person actually said that video was just me saying why I didn't like Brandon Sanderson and I need to just quit reading fantasy if that was the case. Is what I would say. I even say in that video, Brandon Sanderson's great. I like him. Yeah, some things he's done with the series recently, not for me. I am not really crazy about just huge magic systems at this point. But that's not what I was trying to say in that video at all. And it's just weird that people would always bring up something that I bring up in the video and say, I like this author and that I need to quit reading fantasy. That's a wild take. So it was mostly a positive response to the video. I expected when I pressed upload and publish, I expected a lot of negativity in the video because I wasn't sure if I was coming off negative. But I'd say 95% of it's been people that agree with me and feel kind of the same way. So I'm glad that the video got across to a lot of people, what I was trying to say. And if it was your first experience with the channel, hey, I'm glad you're here. And I hope you don't think I'm some negative Nancy that's just going to just trash everything. It's not what I'm trying to do. Like I said, there's a lot of authors I try to lift up, that I want to give a helping hand to. And there's lots of authors I feel like I have done that for. And if it's not something that's for me, I'm never going to be just mean and say, yeah, it didn't work for me because it was trash. That's not my style. But I will say that there is a lot of fantasy while I will read and I will enjoy it. But seriously, it leaves no lasting impact on me, like at all. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to go back to some things that have had a legacy for 20, 30 years for a reason, because they were something truly special and magical. And I want to be a part of that. So that's really what that whole video was about. So I hope you guys will watch it if you haven't. And again, let me know if there's any classic fantasy series you want to recommend to me or some self-published authors. I am always listening to what you guys are telling me. I got to make an apology to my guys Philip and John and Ryan Cahill and Christopher Navo. I was supposed to be on their Of War and Ruin live stream last weekend. I even told you guys about it, and I was on this medication. I felt terrible. And the thing is like it's peaks and valleys with it. And it's hard for me to commit to anything live right now because if I'm having I knew that conversation. Look, I love Ryan to death. Brother can talk. And I was like, I don't know that I can sit there for 2.5, 3 hours and not feel like I'm going to throw up on camera. So with many regrets, I had to cancel on that and tell him I'll try to make it next time. I've actually talked to Ryan. We're going to get together and talk here probably soon. But yeah, it was a fun conversation. I went and listen to it afterwards. Helped me get through work one day, and I appreciate that. But yeah, very, very exciting times ahead for that series. And Of War and Ruin was my second favorite book behind only Lonesome Dove the year that I read it. And Ryan did tell me he was going to find every copy of Lonesome Dove and burn it because of that. But as far as that Kobo video that I talked about last week, I feel like I need to spend more time with it. I'm trying to read off of it right now, but I haven't spent enough time with it really to say I could do a full-on, here's what you should do with it or why it's better than Kindle, why it's worse than Kindle. I feel like I got to spend some more time with it and really give it some good hands-on time. Just got a case for it. And yeah, just before I know all the features of it, I want to make sure that that's not a video I just slapped together. I want to make sure I'm doing my homework to really give you guys an in-depth analysis about what it's like and how it compares to the Kindle. So look forward to that here relatively soon. As for some next week plans, we'll be talking about those April reading plans. I've already kind of told you guys that this one will be on there. That'll be the first one I got planned. But there's some things on there I think you guys will like. There's going to be some things on there you'll be like, didn't you just say you were sick of modern fantasy? Well, these are some things we've got to talk about. And that's why I think that video will be important if you are interested in the follow-up to that. So check that one out. I'm thinking about doing a video about some urban fantasy. Now, something I've been talking about a lot recently is, urban fantasy that can be like a nice holdover before you get new Dresden Files mature. So maybe like some urban fantasy series I'd be interested in trying before a new Dresden Files book does come out. I've already mentioned Patricia Briggs and Kate Daniels and things like that. So there are some series out there I'm interested in trying, and we're going to kind of talk about a few of those. I got to bring up Sandman Slim because BellTube will be up in my comments about Sandman Slim if I do not. But I don't know really where that video is going. That was just still kind of a work in progress. And like I said, the Kobo, I still feel like I need a little bit more time with before I'm ready to make a video on that one. But yeah, look for those here coming up sometime this week. We are going to the John Green signing on Tuesday for his new book, which is a nonfiction book, I think, something about tuberculosis. I don't know. My wife is a teacher, and she sees a lot of his, he does these like historical videos and stuff on YouTube. I think they're called Crash Course or something. So this was her idea. I really like Paper Towns, and I don't know nothing about this nonfiction book, but be interested to go hear what he has to say at the signing. I'm always interested to hear kind of how the sausage is made, listening to an author speak. So that will be kind of what's going down for this week. Quickly, some TV and movie talk things before I go. I've had a lot of people dropping in my mentions on the socials asking me, what do you think about Wheel of Time Season 3? I'm like, well, I didn't watch Wheel of Time Season 2, so I couldn't tell you. They're like, screw it, just watch Wheel of Time Season 3, Episode 4, because it's amazing. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I'm glad you guys are liking it. And I got a lot of pushback for this where I said, look, one, it's too late. They had their chance, they blew it with me. Two, in my opinion, even if they're like, okay, they're finally following the book, that's great. If you guys stuck with it, they're finally following the books now. Even though they skipped Dragon Reborn, if they're following the books now, that's awesome. I'm glad. But I'm telling you, Rafe Judkins will go and do his own thing on a dime, so I just don't trust him. And three, I was like, I don't believe you. Because so many times people will be like, oh yeah, it's really great. Like, people told me Rings of Power Season 2 is better. No, it wasn't. No, it was not. And it was all if you didn't like Season 1 of Rings of Power, you were not going to like Season 2 of Rings of Power. So with this, it's like, I want people to enjoy things. If you are enjoying this Wheel of Time adaptation, more power to you. That is awesome, man. I am happy for you. I want you to love things. I don't want anyone to be miserable because I don't like something. That's absolutely foolish. Why would I want that? I want people to be happy. So if you're happy with it, that's great. I'm not going to watch it. They blew their opportunity with me. So that's it. A lot of people say, yeah, this is just engagement farming so they get a Season 4. I don't know what it is, but that response, the responses to that comment were outrageous. Because I have on my Twitter bio that I'm aiming to bring some positivity to this app. And apparently that was like really, really negative to them. I'm like, look, I have opinions on TV shows too. I don't think because I don't like something, I never once tell you you are a bad person for watching it. I do what makes you happy, man. Watching Wheel of Time, that adaptation probably will not make me happy. It's not a very good adaptation. So apparently they did Ruedion really good. Awesome. That's great to hear. I'm glad that they are once in a while cracking open those books and saying, oh, hey, Robert Jordan did this. Maybe we should do that, like they should have done from Go. So, yeah, it's too late. It's too late, guys. But that's really all I have for TV stuff. I didn't really do anything much this week. Me and my kid are continuing to go through the Child's Play movies. We watched Child's Play 3. I had a lot of fun with it. He really likes how funny Chucky's becoming. And I'm like, oh boy, buckle up because Bride of Chucky, straight comedy. It's really, really fun. Watch Plankton, the SpongeBob movie that's on Netflix with my kids. It's fun. I don't think the SpongeBob movies are fun. I wish they'd just go back to the regular 2D animation because the CGI thing really is just like off-putting when you've watched so much SpongeBob. And again, you got to kind of adapt or perish, right? Gaming stuff. I started playing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown on PS5. Metroidvania. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant Metro. If you're into Metroidvania, if you don't know, it's like the style that Metroid and Castlevania uses, where you got like the big, huge map, and once you beat an enemy, you get a new ability, and you can reach you can get a double jump and reach areas that you couldn't before, and it keeps you exploring this huge map over and over and over again. I love that format of gaming, and Prince of Persia: Lost Crown is really, really good. It's challenging. It's challenging. It'll have some stuff that'll have you absolutely ripping your hair out if you got any. But man, it's really good. But holy crap, it can be frustrating. And it can be challenging. But again, if it was just super easy, why would we even play it, right? So I think it's funny that I say that, and then my kid's like, "Get good, dude," because he's like the Elden Ring master now or something. So yeah, he's on like his 3rd or 4th playthrough of Elden Ring now. Kid's obsessed. I think I'm gonna get him the DLC for his birthday, just because I hope it's harder and it'll shut him up. But these are the fun things as a parent, I do think. So guys, that was my week. I would be loving to hear what your week's shaping up to look like. What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you playing? Why don't you drop in the comments, guys, and let me know. I will talk to you there.